Hello, hello. Tonight we're going to be talking about my NItrocels series of paintings, which is a group of paintings I've been working on basically currently and several years prior. And the name conveys the mood of the pieces, NItrocels, and also the materials employed to make the pieces. So I don't know, I think it's a cool name. And anyway, so many of you know I work in different genres at the same time, which is like figurative and abstract and conceptual. I guess loosely you could say that. So anyway, in a sense, this is I guess this could be some figurative work. Yeah, literally, yeah. Okay, you could identify what's in the picture. So anyway, in episode 8, can't believe the Steve Sas Schwartz Podcast has gotten that far. We're going to talk about this period, funny word, whatever, it makes it sound official. So these nitrocels, what I call them nitrocels, really reflect my interest in natural history, traditional Japanese wood blocks like Hokusai and Hiroshige and so many others you could think of. And, the materials involved in my appreciation for the natural order. Okay, so not to mention like the block frames that they're all encased in like artist-made frames and everything. So that's like an important element too. So anyway, I'm really driven by exploring materials, right? And for some reason, I've always been fascinated by the lush quality of nail polish and the palette of nail polish, nail lacquer, whatever you want to call it. And I always thought, oh man, that would be so cool. Make a painting out of nail polish. How ridiculous. Okay, sometimes when I tell people I work out of nail polish, I mean with nail lacquer, they naturally expect me to be doing something campy, and this could not be further than that. But it's because I love the material. And like nail lacquer, there's a material in it called nitrocellulose, right? So hence the name NItrocels. And I guess that sounds more highbrow than nail polish. So anyway, it's also found in car paint, right? So it comes with a really rich surface as well as a really peculiar palette, which you're not going to find in any art supply store or in any traditional paint kit, whatever you want to call it. And I really like that variety, that like outlier kind of element of it. So I did this whole series of paintings literally out of nail lacquer. I could open up the biggest nail salon in LA in a minute. You have no idea. I have hundreds and hundreds of nail polish bottles people have sent me. And virtually these have been made that way, dipping a little brush in there and painting, not joking, right? And I'm going to take some close-ups. You can see the surface is so lush and rich, and like actually when you put the top coat on there and like set it and what have you with the light, I mean, it's so rich. You don't see that in the traditional like art world, right? Like not at all, okay? So I did this whole series about that, but it's also like following my nose. Like at a certain point, I don't know, before like 2018, what do you call it? Prior to COVID, 2020, 2019, like spent some time in Germany, and I just totally caught this cat virus, right? I was so mesmerized by cats, and I thought they were so fascinating. And this is so cliche, I get it, right? Like how they move, the nuances of them. They're just so fascinating. And I'm not a cat guy. Ask my friends, I'm a dog guy. People really know that. But anyway, still, like, wow. So I could not, something about cats just rung a bell with me, and I could not stop looking at them, drawing them. And so I did a series of pieces, and these were my first like nail polish, but like, well, what if I just paint this cat, Siamese, what have you, on this driftwood plank of wood out of nail lacquer. And it came out really cool. And first things often do, because you have this like enthusiastic energy and whatever, and you want to see how it comes out. And of course, it came out like super bitchin'. Oh man, yeah, that was a really good one. So anyway, then that kind of lit a fire to pursue more. And so we have these great cats called Nina and Simone, and they were sisters, but one was Siamese and one was, I'm not sure what you really call that kind anymore. But it had a totally different coloration and everything. But they were twins, and so I painted them. And so the cats here are them. Like that is Simone, and Simone is like a way overweight, super lovable, what do you call it, Siamese cat. And I don't know, I think that piece really conveys a lot of like the hypnotic things about them, and not the traditional like staring into their eyes, but just everything about them, like how they move, the musculature, their palate, whatever. So I'm going to show more close-ups of these things. So I did several of these cat things, and this is another one here, and that actually was Simone's sister, but she has a whole different coat at this point, and it just more worked with the painting, of course, because like making the work is like a process, and just was not congealing in her like ordinary colors, and I wanted like some snowy kind of feeling to it. But when you see close up, there's so much subtlety and richness in it. It's just like really pleasurable to look at, like very satisfying. And so those are the sisters, and that's like an aspect of the work. And then I found like blackbirds. I've always had a thing for crows and starlings and murmurations, like the way all the starlings gather and make those incredibly abstract, fluid, cloud-like formations that just chronically change. And so I did a bunch, a handful of crows and starlings, which is down here. And when I show you the close-ups, like the richness of the paint, and like, I don't know, the luminous qualities and all these iridescent little sparkly things, like you're not getting that with like traditional materials. So I think that's really fun. It makes them distinctive and everything. It makes it like, a still image in this world of chaos, like really mesmerizing to look at, like, oh, look at that. Like, how do you do that? Like it's compelling. And, that's what art, I think, should be. And I think the goalposts have changed, the stakes are higher, and like, you really got to make like the physical experience of the work important, because otherwise everything's, just on a little screen somewhere. And, is it real? Is it not real? It's just like this ephemeral thing is really boring. And it has a lot to do with like, why am I doing these podcasts? Because I feel like I have so many colleagues and great artists, people I know, like have just passed away, like way beyond, way before their time. And I feel like, oh, like what a shame. And like, let's take advantage of this technology and like share, like teach, like put it out there. So I'm not trying only like principally to talk about myself. I have several periods. I want to get that out there. Don't worry, I have like zero reach, but I'm trying. But I'm also like interviewing, discussing, showing the work, pushing the work of like friends, colleagues, people that I think are great. It just takes some coordinating. Single data 3, like whatever. But if you're on the art train, you're on the art train. This is what I do. So great. And I love it. Okay, so another thing like I'd like to get into, like there's so many different aspects. Okay, another one, is the floral thing, and just like quintessential ordinary beauty that a lot of human beings could respond to. And I really wanted to put that in this work, just something like rich and meditative and oasis, like, okay, a gorgeous, sweet little moment, boom, removed from the chaos of imminent doom, right? And whatever things haunt our minds and daily activities, right? Okay, so I'm trying to convey a moment like that. All right, another important thing is like all of these are on vintage planks, because that's another theme in my work. I've been nurturing, I think that's a funny word, but exploring mining for decades, really, like repurposing the past, or maybe like reevaluating, looking at it, incorporating it, understanding it, embracing it, right? And so lots of these are on like wooden planks, and fortunately I have all these like great carpenter friends. They have extraordinary collections of the most bizarre hardwoods and oblique woods you could ever think, and they're just giving me planks. And so these are actually painted on really cool, granted vintage pieces of wood that are like crooked and cockeyed and whatever, but you know, they're like Brazilian hardwoods and crazy things from Madagascar and whatever, and they actually have this physical weight, which I think is a neat component of them. And then I put them in these frames, and these frames I call block frames. Has nothing to do with blockchain, but these and I don't know, I feel like it situates them more with this other period I'm working in, which is called instruments of agency. And I want these to be working with them, even though they could have like their own direction. So like I have a whole other leg of this stuff, which I'm going to show, which is like portraiture and whatever. And actually things that go off in an entirely different direction, but it's still part of the NItrocels series. So I want to show that. But yeah, I think I spoke about, I think that's good. Okay, thank you for joining me tonight. I will try to polish this up, make it more interesting. Okay, thank you. The end was just terrible.